Welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal channel. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. Is Mikel Arteta's team selection costing us points as a team? Now, I did a video yesterday about Arsenal and Manchester City, and I saw something that was recurring. It was about Mikel Arteta's team selection, not about the tactics, but the team selection. And the problem was about these three guys with Eberichi Eze. Obviously, this is how Mikel Arteta sets up, and this is how he set up against Manchester City with Declan Rice and Mikel Merino alongside Martin Zubimendi. And that really didn't seem to work, but it's a partnership that Mikel Arteta is willing to try out again and again and again, especially with the absence of Martin Odegaard. But the big question is, why would you play Rice and Merino when you have Ethan Nwaneri and you have Eberichi Eze as well? Why are you not being proactive? Why are you not being direct? Why are you trying to stay primitive, even after splashing about 300 million in the previous summer? Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. We want to keep this respectful, but also we want us to discuss, is Mikel Arteta's team selection costing Arsenal points? And also, how could we make this Arsenal team better, especially that we have a center forward that we've got to provide for? Otherwise, Gyökeres is going to become a burden if we cannot create chances for him. Now, this is what Mikel Arteta really prefers to go with when we don't have Martin Odegaard. But with Martin Odegaard available, then he wants to play Zubimendi, Odegaard, and Declan Rice. But without Odegaard, it's Mikel Merino, it's Declan Rice, either side of Martin Zubimendi. Now, I want to defend Mikel for a second before we go into the critique. The reason as to why we saw this kind of midfield against Manchester City over the weekend was he was trying to make sure that you don't lose the game as soon as it starts. He was trying to ensure stability, and in my opinion, to some degree, it actually did. The problem is he wants to convince us that Declan Rice and Mikel Merino are the two creative number 8s that are going to push forward, create chances, break through the lines, and give us that offensive threat, that offensive attack that you would get from a player like Odegaard, Eze, or Ethan Nwaneri. That is a lie. It is actually not working. So, is this team selection a problem? Yes, it is a problem. And I've said this right from last campaign. I'm really, really happy now that you guys are coming on board, because last campaign I was saying, guys, the few things that I really don't understand with Mikel Arteta is doing this and that, and you guys were like, Cossy, you don't like Mikel Arteta, the manager's not been backed enough, this and that. And now we are seeing it, and now we are seeing it this campaign. He's playing 3 defensive midfielders stroke number 8s in midfield. And this is a guy that has just splashed 68 million. And we'll talk about Eze as well, because the impact this guy has had in games against Nottingham Forest, the impact he had in the Manchester City game, it's all there to see. Eze must start for Arsenal as part of the attack or as part of the midfield. There is no way you're dropping Eze in this Arsenal team. How many creative players do we have that are better than Eze? How many players have the ability, the technical ability to play that ball that he played over the weekend into Gabriel Martinelli? How many? I would say the one I remember used to be Jorginho and Alexander Zinchenko. Those were the only 2 guys that I could say could play that ball. The rest of them, the lot of them, they're not playing that ball. They're not. They don't have the ability. So if you have Eze and he's that different, he's that creative, and that is that direct, why are you keeping him on the bench or on the bench? Now, is the problem? Sorry about that. What's the problem with this? Zubimendi, Rice, and Mikel Merino. Why is it not working? And I've seen a few people pointing to Mikel Merino. I don't think Mikel Merino is the problem. First and foremost, he doesn't select himself. He doesn't do the team selection. That's number 1. Number 2, even if he was doing the team selection, I don't think he's actually the problem in this system. The problem is the system. Let me explain. So let's think about this for a second, right? Let's think about this for a second. Martin Zubimendi is a defensive midfielder, and so is Declan Rice. The difference between Zubimendi and Declan Rice is energetic, so he plays box to box and is that engine of the team, right? Now, Mikel Merino is neither. He's just a very, very technical player that has some qualities, very good in the air, and it's just a confusing profile. When I have Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice, I sure do not need the services of Mikel Merino. It is regurgitation that you actually do not need. And that's where Mikel Arteta for me gets it wrong. We are still playing timid football. And we are playing timid football in a season where you're going to need up to 95 points. Bloody hell, Liverpool have played Arsenal. And they have maximum points already on the board. And I'm not saying Liverpool are gone. I'm not saying Liverpool are out of reach. But I'm saying that if Liverpool add 3 more points to the difference they have between us and them, how do you explain that? Things will get out of hand. And that's what I'm trying to say. So I think Mikel needs to be proactive now. I think Mikel needs to be direct now. I think we need to be ruthless offensively. We have done well defensively, but we have seen your defense is going to concede a goal once in a while, and that is okay. It is okay. You don't have to have that masterclass of a defense, and then you add Rice, and then you add Merino, and then you add Zubimendi. You don't have to spare some of these bodies to attack. Because you have a goalkeeper, and then you have 4 defenders. That is already 5 out of 11. If you add 3 more defensive midfielders, that is 8 defensive players out of 11. You're left with 3. You're left with only 3 players that you can spare for the attack. Let's compare that to Liverpool for a second. How do Liverpool set up? Liverpool set up with their usual back 4, right? Let's say Conor Bradley at the back, at the right back, and then you have, let's say, Andy Robertson. We shall, for now, forego Frimpong and Carcass. And then at centre back, you have Konate, and you also have Virgil van Dijk. That is a really steady defensive side. And that is a team that is defensively okay, but they will concede goals, and it's okay. But how do you balance that? Now, come into the midfield. They've got a player like Ryan Gravenberch. Gravenberch is not as defensive as your traditional number 6 is, but let's say, he's part of the defense. That is now 6 defensive players. The 4 defenders, 1 goalkeeper, and Gravenberch, 6. But how do they count that, right? As part of that midfield, alongside Gravenberch, is a 125 million euro signing in Florian Wirtz. That is a classic attacking number 10. And alongside him, you'll have either Dominic Szoboszlai, who we know is clear through and through, a hard-working but very, very creative 8 stroke number 10. So they've got 2 10s, 2 very creative players as part of that midfield. And of course, you've got these guys, the likes of McAllister, the likes of Curtis Jones. All those players are not just defensive. They go and, add to the offensive. But if you have Vach and you have Dominic Szoboszlai, that tells you that the team can already attack right from the midfield. And then up top, they've got Isak, they've got Ekitike, they've got Salah, they've got Cody Gakpo. Do we really wonder why Liverpool win games? No. Well, breaking news, they win games because they have a very, very good defensive structure and they have a very strong attack. And Arsenal have a strong attack too. The difference is that our manager really thinks that you're going to have to defend well and attack poorly and win games, right? You look at Madueke being isolated. You look at Saka being isolated. You look at our forward players being isolated. And you're like, why is this happening? The reason that's why it's happening is because you have more players that are willing to play it safe. You have more players that are willing to not concede rather than score. So for me, what is the solution? Without Martin Odegaard, there are 2 ways we can set up. And I saw this it was the Nottingham Forest game. Mikel Arteta tried it, and it actually worked. Now, like I said, against Manchester City, I could understand maybe the reason as to why he plays that midfield trio is because he's afraid of City, he's afraid of what they have in terms of the midfield and the philosophy of their manager. That's okay, I understand. But apart from that, can we see an Arsenal team that is willing to attack? Can we see an Arsenal team that is willing to create chaos and problems for the opposition? Okay, enter Eberichi Eze. Now, for me, I want to say this. I want to say this very, very clearly. Eze is the answer. Eze is the answer to Arsenal's problems. And I'm saying this in the context that we didn't get anyone else, like Rodrigo, like Anthony Gordon. We didn't. And that means that we went out of that summer with Eze as the creator, Eze as the X factor, Eze as the game changer, Eze as the reliable offensive player that we got in the market, Eze as everything. It will not make sense. Mikel, listen to me, right? I'm going to put you on a call, right? It will not make sense if we lose the title because we didn't score 10 more goals and you are keeping Eze on the bench. It will not make sense. It will not make sense if Arsenal draw games because we couldn't find that one magic moment and Eze is on the bench. It won't make sense. Thank you. It's as simple as that for me. It's as simple as that. It will not make sense if Arsenal fall short in terms of goals scored. Right? Liverpool have scored more goals. They have a better attacking firepower, yes. But this Arsenal team have got everything together. The chemistry, the time that we've spent together, the talent, individual brilliance and everything, and the manager, and the experience and the pedigree. We should be able to do better. Honestly. I looked at us in that Liverpool game, and it's like, what are we doing? Take the football to Liverpool. Take the football to Man City. And we did that. And there were a few people who were actually telling me, oh, Donnarumma was the man of the match. Arsenal had 3 bloody shots on goal. Like, we had 12 shots, generally, in the game. We had 3 bloody shots on target, and one of them was a goal. So how was Gigi Donnarumma the man of the match in that game? Unless you're counting the crosses that he was collecting, unless that's what you're saying, and the balls that he was punching. Maybe that. But Donnarumma had little work to do. Very, very little work to do. I want you to compare the work Donnarumma did over the weekend as compared to when we played them and he was at PSG away at the Parc des Princes. Remember? The Martin Odegaard shots, the Martinelli shots, the Declan Rice shots and everything. He did. That is what we call a goalkeeper being a man of the match. Not this kind of ramshackle performance from Arsenal. And then we're like, oh, the keeper was the man of the match. 3 shots on target? And the keeper was the man of the match? And one of the shots went in? Are you bloody kidding me? So, for me, Eze has got to play. And even with Odegaard, this is the beauty with Eze, right? If you have a player like Martin Odegaard starting, then, as part of the midfield, then Eze becomes part of the attack, can play as a left winger, right? If you have Odegaard missing, then Eze plays as a number 10. There is no way you're telling me that this Arsenal team doesn't have space for Eze to start games. Yes, we do have, right? And the way he played Kai Havertz until Kai Havertz found his way into the hearts of Arsenal fans, I pray, and I'm requesting nicely, can we have Eze being played to that magnitude? It's as simple as that. I want to see attacking football this season. I want to see better football this season. I want to see more goals this season. And listen, I remember the video that I showed. We were talking about how do Arsenal win the league. What did I say? Can we score more goals? Because from last campaign, defensively, Arsenal don't have a problem in the last 4 years. We do not. Arsenal don't have a defensive problem in the last 3 years, right? Maybe I'm over-exaggerating this. We have not had a problem in the 23-24 season. We have not had a problem in the 24-25 season. We have not had a defensive problem in the 22-23 campaign. What is Arsenal's real problem? Arsenal's real problem is the attack. And I wasn't really disappointed, but I think I wasn't really impressed. I was unimpressed with the fact that we spent 300 million, and that 300 million, you have Piero Hincapié, who is 50 million euros. You have Kepa, who is a goalkeeper. You have Mosquera, who is a defender. You have Zubimendi, who is a defensive midfielder. You have 4, and Christian Nogard. We brought in 5 players that are more that are very defensive. And I don't really have a problem with that. They really elevate this team. They really take this team to the next level. But last summer was about fixing your attack. And Madueke Eze and Gyökeres really elevate us. But do they elevate us to the level of Marmoush, Doku, and Haaland? Do they elevate us to the level of Salah, Isak, Ekitike, and Ferencváros? Because those are the 2 attacks that we are competing with. Now I know we've got Saka already, so Saka, Gyökeres, and Eze. I don't know, but I think he's getting it wrong. He's not a problem, but he needs to be braver. Please be brave and start playing Eze every single game. See you soon.